Jaw Time with Realtor Jeet. I have the pleasure today to not only introduce you to one of my great friends. We met sometime in the summer.
Yep.
And I mean, instantly connected. Our mindsets are the same, and I'm not going to take it any more longer. This is Ben Lavender, New York's favorite British mortgage lender.
You got it. You got it.
Broker, not lender. He's
That's true.
New York's favorite mortgage broker.
New York's favorite British mortgage broker.
Okay.
Whether
you are, Ben, in the top 3% of mortgage lenders in New York, mortgage brokers in New York State.
Technically, no. Top 3 in the state, depending on the month. Sometimes I'm number 1, sometimes 2, sometimes 3. It depends on the month. Okay. And my other accolade that I enjoyed from... Yes, so 98th. I was 98th in the country for mortgage brokers last year. It was a great year. It was a great year.
Oh, that's amazing! Congratulations on that.
Thank you very much.
98. That's a great accomplishment.
I was completely surprised. Actually, I had no idea. Like another mortgage broker, actually a gentleman named Brendan McKay, who's a fantastic human being and mortgage broker who is, I think, I don't know if he's the president or he's like a chairman for. AIM. AIM is, I think it stands for Association of Independent Mortgage Experts. So they represent mortgage brokers. Anyway, Brendan and I know each other through the association, and he randomly sends me a picture and is like, "Great job, man." And I'm like, "What? I had no idea." I was like, "98th? Thank you." So I was just completely shocked and very grateful.
That's such a great thing to see when you wake up in the morning that you've made this accomplishment. So congratulations.
Yes,
on that.
Thank you very much. But with that said, is like at the end of the day, it's an accolade, right? It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't say. I mean, it says that you're good at what you do and you can take care of your clients in a certain way, right? In order to get there. But a lot of people kind of fall for the accolades and let it go to their head, and we don't let that happen. We have to constantly, again, refine the process. How can we make it better for our consumers, for our realtor partners, and everyone involved? Because that's the only way to get from 98 to number 1.
To number 1. I love that you said that because that is really important. Because we see that a lot. Now, you're huge on social media, and we'll get to that soon. You're a rock star. Welcome again to Jaw Time with Realtor Jeet.
Thank you.
And next time
Cheers.
we'll have Realtor Jeet smugs.
Yes. Delicious try.
Thank you. So you're hitting a decade.
January will be a decade for me, yeah.
January, so you're 3 months to a decade in this industry. And like you said, you're always looking, and this is what I love about you, you're always looking to refine the process, not just for your clients, but also your partners. And this is why I feel like it's just so important when you do team up with other professionals that you, and I love something that one of our top agents in EXP, her name is Veronica Figueroa, she said, you want to be working with someone you admire. So not only is this your clients, not only is it your team members that you have on board within your organization, this also means the team that you're working with outside of that, the professional team.
Absolutely.
That's taking care of the process of purchasing a home, which is the biggest asset somebody most likely will be purchasing in their entire life.
Absolutely.
So that, I love that. So Ben, can you explain to us the where and how you got started in the mortgage world? And
I can. So it all started once upon a time. I was going to Queen's College studying accounting. Okay. And I was like 2-3 months away from graduating, and I ran into Shah Tarani, who is the CEO and president of Madison Mortgage. So Shah is like my second cousin. His father and my mother are first cousins. So I don't know if that makes us second cousins. But anyway, I was going to go work for an accounting firm. My entire family, outside of them on my father's side, works for either KPMG, E&Y. So I was going to go, some accounting firm and basically do that. And Shah was like, why don't you try mortgages? And that's exactly what I did. And Shah I remember when I was calling him after I graduated, he made me chase him for the interview, even though he invited me. And to this day, I don't even know if it was just a test or he was just really busy. It's probably a little bit of both. And what I would like to say about, my growth in the business, and don't get me wrong, there's plenty of room for improvement. I don't think I'm in a place where, I can relax and I've accomplished everything. There's plenty more, but I have come a very, very long way, which I am proud of, because when I got into the business, I knew absolutely nothing about mortgages. I had very little sales skills or poor sales acumen, which was tied to the fact actually that I didn't know anything about mortgages. And I remember communicating that to Shah, and Shah even said to me at one time, Ben, I don't know if this business is right for you, when I was a few months in. And that was a shit test that he gave me. I think he learned that. Do you know who Chet Holmes is? He's an author. He wrote basically some book about sales mastery 15, 20 years ago. And that's how you test people, right? So I don't know if Shah got it from there, but I think he did. So, and he had a point, right? Because my sales skills weren't amazing, and again, I wasn't really learning. And then, he changed my approach to learning about the business. And then, after a couple months, I was just off, right? And I was doing fantastic. So, what I will say though, which I think is really important, Haji, is that most loan officers get into the business and just start selling, right? The problem is, they basically, they have a manager, and the manager tells them, go cold call realtors and CPAs and attorneys and home inspectors and try and get business. And the problem is that when you're new in the industry, you have no idea how to structure loans. You don't understand the difference between FHA, conventional, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, VA, etc. You need to know your guidelines in order to be able to sell yourself with confidence.
Yeah.
Right? So what I did with Shah, sure, I worked on getting my own deals, and I did a few deals here and there for the first few years, but I really worked under him and on his deals, right? So I would talk to his clients, I would collect documents, I would structure the loans and determine, and then I'd basically go into his office and we would review files together for hours. I'm not exaggerating. Sometimes I would be in his office for 5 hours straight, 6 hours straight, right? And we would do that daily and just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And I learned how to basically structure loans from the back of my hand. And again, to this day, I don't know every guideline, but I know most, right? Most of what I need to know. And that gave me just tremendous confidence when it came to going out there and getting business from people, because I could look you in the eye and say, yes, I can CTC this loan in 8 days, right? Because I have this.
Week.
Yes. Yeah. Didn't want to bring that up, but yeah. So it's key to have that, because a lot of loan officers don't. So even here at Madison, if clients are calling leads, that's great because they learn that way, or they're getting referrals, but we also have an actual in-house education system that we have. So you see in our training room, we have literally an educator and an underwriter will bring in one team at a time and say, this is how you compute income for a self-employed person. These are the major difference between Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, because it took me, Haji, probably, I'd say 4 years, maybe 5, before I felt I know everything. I feel rock solid.
Yeah.
What we're trying to do with everyone here is take that learning curve, and to be fair, I am a slow learner, but take that learning curve from 3-4 years to, let's say, 6 months to a year.
Okay.
Right? So this way they're experts and they can go out there, because it's not enough to have amazing speed, which people know. Obviously a lot of people in the business know that we're very, very fast and our rates are crazy low, but it's not enough, right? Because at the end of the day, it's how you execute the transaction. And the only way to close loans very, very quickly is to set them up perfectly from the beginning. Yeah. And don't get me wrong, things can go wrong, right? A buyer can still quit their job because they, got pissed off at their boss. It's F you, even though I'm buying a house. Great, great idea.
I've seen that happen.
Yeah, it happens. And don't get me wrong, we tell them, don't make any drastic changes. Don't quit your job. Don't change your jobs. Don't, if you want to do something, tell us first and we'll guide you. But, things still happen. But with that said, I haven't had a loan not close as a miscalculation of my own for maybe 4 years, maybe 5 years that I haven't. Yeah, and thank you. And on top of it too, again, like I said, I don't know everything, and we have 3 underwriters on staff. We can call the underwriters of the lenders that we send our loans to. So there's always someone that we can bounce something off if we really need to.
That's great, Ben. Ben, I really love what you were just talking about. So you mastered your craft and then executed. And as you was mastering your craft, don't get it wrong, like he was simultaneously working his job as well.
Yeah, okay, so on that, because I know that you have a point here, but I was very fortunate in that I came to the business on a salary. It wasn't a big salary, but it was enough to keep me going, which allowed me to spend a year, 2 years, like really learning. And had like a bonus structure, and I got paid very fairly. But that was key. And the problem is when you're a 100% commission loan officer, you're just trying to get anything that you can, and you know nothing about the business, unfortunately.
And that's important to know, because that when you're entering into an entrepreneurial journey, and it doesn't matter if you're a mortgage lender, a real estate agent, an inspector, an appraiser, we're all getting commissions through the service that we provide. So as we are doing that and learning, we're I want to say 99% of us who do enter it have no clue what we are doing.
Yeah.
And we all
with no mentorship.
With no mentorship. And I think that's the key point that you were bringing on throughout your 5 years. You were an apprentice.
Yeah.
And you had a mentor to help you walk through that.
So I'll add to that. On top of Shah being my mentor, and I would argue to this day he's still a mentor of mine, I hired coaches separately outside of our business. So one of my coaches, shout out to Kai McBride. I coached with Kai for a while. He's really good. I still go to his, like he has an event every year or twice a year for even alumni and current coaches. I still go because I get to learn from all those guys who are really sharp and like massive producers. And that's so coaching is key. Have a mentor, have different types of mentors because you're going to get different things from different ones. I attended marketing like workshops to learn how to generate my own leads, right? So, and then also I was generating leads for realtors that I work with, buyers and sellers. This was back in the day where it was very easy to generate leads on Facebook. Like I was like, I was generating like, I'm talking like very clean 10 seller leads per day at like 70 cents a pop.
That is,
you know, it was beautiful back then.
Days now.
no, it's slightly different. I'm sure there's someone that claims that they do that, but if they do, it's it's few and far between, and it's luck.
Facebook's caught up to that.
Yeah. So you got to have mentorship. You have to add, actually, it's not just the mentorship as well. It's like being around other people in the business that are of the same mind, like you and I, right? Yeah. So I go to maybe, I don't know, anywhere from 3 to 6 mortgage events or masterminds per year. All right, I was just in one in Colorado. I'm going to one this coming week in Vegas. I was at Kaya's thing in the beginning of the year, so that's 3 for the year, and I'll probably do a couple more. So you just have to keep doing it, and because you learn, you take a little bit. Plus, it's not even just like what you learn from them too. It's so good to be around people that have gone through or are going through the same thing you are in your business. I mean, that's key. It's like a little family.
It is. It's a family. You're growing with other people that, like you said, that think like you. And when you do that, now it elevates your ability to get to that next level because you're surrounded by that energy.
Yeah.
Energy lifts energy. So if you're like, what you focus on is what you get. So if you're going to sit home and choose to sit by the fireplace and watch TV.
Hope you guys like the fireplace.
Then that's what you're going to get out of that. You're not going to gain any knowledge out of it. I'm not saying it's wrong to do that, but
yeah, you need your downtime. You have to relax. But like, I also don't believe when it comes to like growth, Jeet, that there's really a such thing as a balance. Right. Like I put my blood, sweat, and tears. I hate saying that, but it's true. Like everything I had into me in really learning and growing, right? And that's
it's just into yourself.
Well, if you think about it logically, right? If you do the same thing that everyone else does, you're going to get to the same place.
And how are you going to differentiate yourself if you do that?
Exactly. It's not possible.
Yeah.
You won't. So you do have to work hard. You know, don't get me wrong, you definitely need to work smarter, but when you combine hard work and smart work, you're just unstoppable.
Absolutely. We were just talking about this with one of the books that I've been recently reading, Who Not How.
Yeah.
Who Not How. Because it's not how we get to where we get to. It's the who we surround ourselves with that can help us get to that destination a lot quicker so we could get to the next one. And it's all surrounded around serving our client the way that we want to serve, that's aligned with our purpose and our mission. Yeah. And I see that in you, and you're definitely doing it. I'm going to be in Vegas in October.
Nice.
Because of a mastermind where it's EXPCon. So we're going to be there with about, I want to say 6,000 or 7,000 agents.
Wow.
And
which is what, like less than 0.5% of EXP's total roster?
Yeah, we're like over 84,000 agents now worldwide.
It's tremendous.
Just a tad bit. Our goal is 500,000 in the next 5 years.
I think you get there.
We definitely will. We're only 20,000 away from 100,000, and so we're gonna get to 500,000, and then we also want to get to 50 countries in the next 5 years. So that's definitely gonna happen. We're already in 22.
That's incredible. Wow.
And so I mean, not to digress, but the importance of that is because we're collaborating and aligning ourselves with people who want to grow in that direction and serve their clients at such a higher level.
So I wouldn't say it's funny that you said that, but it's interesting because in our business you have a lot of different types of people. Like you and I, like type A, go after it, get it. And then you have people who are a little bit more relaxed.
Yep.
Right? And that's okay, right? Yep. Because that person is still going to find the client that likes them.
That they could
right?
serve.
Yeah, exactly. There's someone for everyone. But, if you compare that agent to you that just, does what obviously they're going to have a better experience with you. But sometimes it's a personality thing. It's not just even a service, like a customer service thing. Like even as a loan officer, right? Like I've got, speed, blah, 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 better rates, everything, right? And they're like, oh, I just like the other loan officer. I was like, okay, go with them.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. So, there's someone for everyone.
Absolutely. I love that you mentioned that because I have a client who was not comfortable and was just, I saw her for 2.5 weeks stressing and regretting the choice she made of the person that she chose to use as a mortgage lender. And she's like, I don't know what to do. And we're like so close to getting clear to close. And she was hesitant on giving those last few documents.
Yeah.
Because, like you just said, she just didn't feel comfortable with that person that she was working with. So I'm like, how can I help solve this? I call you, Ben.
Oh, I was thinking that we were talking about that file. Okay, we are. Yeah. Didn't want to assume.
I called you, and right away, it was 7 o'clock in the evening, you answer the phone, and you're on top of it. And I kid you not, I was talking to her yesterday, and she's so much less stressed than she was in the past 2 weeks. And everything is given to you. Everything.
Yeah. She's great too, to be fair. She supplies the documentation quickly. She's a pleasure to work with. So we appreciate that too.
The point is that it's not the consumer. It's what they feel comfortable with.
And how do you make them feel comfortable?
Yeah.
And so her and I have only spoken a couple times, but so the key is, and for those of you that don't know, I have a team of 8 people under me. I have 4 licensed loan officers, an assistant, 2 sales guys, and 1, I would say, head loan officer or pipeline manager who helps me run the pipeline. So all I really did with her is just have a long conversation, got to the bottom of what her issues were with this other lender, and then I promised her, which we could, and we already have, that we're able to solve that, right? And that we don't have an issue. And then just explain to her, okay, so this is how it's going to go down. This is what we need. A lot of loan officers, unfortunately, don't do that, right? Because in order to get them to feel comfortable to send everything over, you have to give people the visual of how their process is going to work, right? Because then it's like, I send my documents to you, then what? And then they have, like, something you brought up before was, I think, frustration or anxiety. So that's something that I've been talking about for a long time now, is that we as professionals, not enough of us, see the level of stress and anxiety that our consumers go through, especially when they buy a home in New York. The amount of money for closing costs, the amount of money that they're paying monthly, the property, everyone that they're paying, their attorney. There are so many people involved, and because of, you know, social media or TV shows, they have this false misconception that it's all sunshine and rainbows. So this is what most loan officers do, and this is where I think I'm a little bit different, is that, you know, you call loan officer A, right, and they're just like, yeah, you know, we can do everything, yeah, not a problem, yeah, easy. And I'm like, you know, okay, tell me what the issue is, what are your concerns? And honestly, if I can't do something, I'm going to tell them, I can't help you, you know, good luck, I'm sorry, you know, that's, you could do this, but I generally set the expectation from the very beginning, and it doesn't always happen, but I say that real estate is the epitome of Murphy's Law. Right, in New York more specifically. Out-of-state stuff is very smooth, but
anything out of state is smooth.
Yeah, my out-of-state deals, I mean, we close them quickly. There are no title issues. You know, title issues here are very common. Attorneys with egos, very common. Realtors with egos, not you specifically. I'm pointing at you, but it could be that way. So what I'm saying is I kind of basically I under-promise and either deliver or over-deliver. Right, so I'm like, for instance, like we were talking about, you know, getting the loan CTC in, you know, I said maybe 3 weeks, right? And realistically, it's going to be like 7-8 business days by the time it's CTC. So because you don't want to do that. You don't want, like, what would happen if I said 7-8 business days and then it was 9 and 10, right? Because I used to do that. I did that in the past. I tried to do exact, but I'm like, look, usually, you know, this amount of time might be a little bit sooner, might be a little bit later, and then, you know, people get pissed off. But you have to kind of start off with a negative in the very beginning, because honestly, like, people will trust you more because, again, this goes back to a New York thing. New Yorkers can smell from a mile away. So, like, one of the first things that I even do as, like, a trust building skill, I would say, or thing, is, like, I will say something very negative. Like, they're like, you know, if a client calls me, so-and-so recommended you, you know, said that you're the best. And I'm like, you know, I'm pretty good. I'm pretty good, but, you know, I'll show you that we're the best. And it's a better approach because then they feel calmer, right? And also the expectation where everything is perfect, even if you do everything perfectly, but you get one small thing that's off, right? Like, even if it's got nothing to do with you, let's say that, you know, they've tried reaching their attorney and their attorney is away on vacation and they're not getting an answer or something or whatever, and they're getting an answer on something a day or two later than they wanted to. They will associate that entire experience with you because you're on, even though it's got nothing to do with you, right? So, which is why, like, I tell them up front, like, you're going to hit some bumps, most likely, maybe 1, maybe 2, maybe 3, but something's going to happen. Just know that when it does happen, 99% of them are solvable, and the only way to solve them is to communicate, right? Communicate with me, your realtor, and this way we can resolve it, and you have to stay calm. So that's another thing, right, that I say this all the time, and I see it all the time too. So when your clients approach you with this, like, anxious energy, we are taught in sales stuff to mirror them. Do not mirror them whatsoever.
I don't think I was taught to mirror them.
Yeah, well,
please speak.
Yeah, well, most salespeople, right, are taught, like, always mirror your clients, right, which is just, it is literally the worst thing that you can do. You are the leader, you are the expert. If someone calls you freaking out, speaking, you know, 100 miles a minute, like, my response is always, okay, I hear you, and this is what we're going to do to solve it. I'm not blasting, you know, verbal diarrhea back at them because all it's going to do is hype them up and make them more stressed. So it's not just like what you're saying to them, because there's a difference to me. between me saying, yeah, we're going to get your loan clear to close in 3 days, just send me all your documents, blah, 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 and me saying, okay, this is what I need you to do. I need you to collect this document, and that document. You're going to send it to me. You're going to copy your realtor and your attorney. Once we get it, we're going to upload it to underwriting. On average, it takes 24 hours to get a response, sometimes a little bit more, but as soon as I have an answer, I'm going to let you know. Big difference between the two.
Huge. And the fact that you mentioned that, because I guess a lot of, I don't know in what type of sales training that was, but if you're mirroring somebody with the anxious energy, then it's not really going to take you too far.
Yeah.
And now, if you're mirroring them in a tone of, I hear you, okay, what are we going to do next now? Let's get you to the next step and walk you through this process. It's the tone. Everything is about the tone.
It's the tone, and it's being the expert in the situation, which a lot of people in the business, realtors, loan officers, attorneys that don't have a lot of experience and even understand the process fully themselves, because in order to say something with conviction, you need to really understand it, right? So when I was first in the business, I couldn't speak the way about anything the way I can now, which goes again back to what we were saying in the beginning. You have to master your craft, or 80 to 90% of it. And again, the things that you don't know, you got an answer on from someone else.
Yep, you find it. You just find the solution for it. So, now that we're on this topic of speaking and being that, aligning your energy so that the client can walk through this process towards the end, how it reminds me of connection and communication.
Yeah.
And I had a deal when I first started my real estate career. It's one of my first listings and a buyer. So selling their house and helping them purchase a house. The purchasing part was great. They chose their lender. I'm not going to mention, it was a big lender. I'm not going to mention the name. And I was like, are you sure you want to use this? Well, yeah, I have all of my accounts with them. I said, okay. This is the mortgage lender I work with. We have great communication with each other. If you need anything, or if I need anything, I'll have communication with them even throughout the weekend.
Yeah.
So we're coming close to the date to actually have to have a clear to close on the contract. And the company is closed, and it's Friday.
Nice.
And just as you mentioned, so now it falls back to you, the real estate agent or the mortgage lender. They couldn't get to the mortgage lender, so who is it going to fall to now?
Yep.
Me, or the real estate.
You should have known this. You should have prepared me 2 weeks ago. And, to add to that, like anything that is detrimental, from the client side that they choose to ignore, I put it in writing. Okay. Everything. I put it into text. I put it into email. But sorry, continue.
No, I love that. That's a really great thing, because it happens. Yeah. It happens. And that was a huge lesson I learned. It's like, I don't want to say I told you so, and I can't say I told you so, because I'm only going to get you more upset if I say that. So I'm like, okay, we're just going to have to wait until Monday. First thing in the morning, we'll call. I'll follow up with the attorney, and we'll get this cleared up. But as of now, I know we can't do anything because I don't have that connection with that huge mortgage lender.
And plus, they're closed on the weekends, and you only have their office number, and you got to find the extension and wait on hold, and
all of that. So I love that you mentioned that, because the team of vendors are so important. So these are your advisors throughout the biggest asset of your life that you'll be purchasing.
And we're all a reflection of each other, right? Especially if you're the one referring, right? So it's like you referred me this person that ripped me off or didn't respond, or this attorney or whatever. So it's like we have to be a positive reflection on each other, because they'll associate that experience with you.
Yes. So that's an important thing, a tip that I would say to anyone who's purchasing or thinking of purchasing a house, is to, when you are looking for your realtor and your mortgage lender, and your attorney, think of them as your team
Yeah.
of advisors who are going to advise you with your best interest on how to go about this process in the most less stressful way that you possibly can.
So I know that I'm technically your guest here, but I actually have a question for you because I'm curious,
this is
right?
like a fireside chat.
Yeah, exactly. There we go. So from a consumer's perspective, beyond just, listening to you as their realtor, like how do you recommend a consumer picks a loan officer, right? Because let's say that consumers don't understand how mortgages work. They don't understand the difference between a mortgage broker like me, a small correspondent lender on Broad Hollow Road, Rocket Mortgage, Chase, a credit union. I mentioned 5 companies or types of companies who are tremendously different in the way the businesses are. So from their perspective, everything looks the same, right? They have no idea. How do you recommend, and I don't know if there's a clear-cut answer, but how do you recommend that a client goes and figures that out for themselves, as to who they should go to or how they should do their research?
Well, if it's a client that I'm working with, I always tell them, okay, this is the person who I trust, and I highly recommend them. You don't need to, and you don't have to go to them, but I would suggest that you go to them. You get your pre-approval. That way I know, for security purposes in my own head too, that you're actually pre-approved. Because I've been through situations where a buyer got a pre-approval from a lender that they know, and they weren't pre-approved at all. But it's because they just knew the person and they got the letter. So I just need to know that as well. Now you could go shopping if you want. These are the people who I highly recommend. You call them and see who works best for you. But this is the difference between each one, and this is what they can offer you.
Yeah.
So and it does come down to asking them the questions and seeing who can serve them better. So it's like if there's somebody looking specifically for grants, then okay, like I did, I called you last week. Do you do grants, or who can I refer to do grants that are going to be that's going to take care of them for that purpose? So it's like finding that right person for them. Like you're the connector.
Yes.
So you want to connect them.
Great word.
Yep, and you want to connect them to the right person so that okay, this person's going to make them happy on their specific situation that they're looking for.
It's a good answer.
Thank you. It's not clear cut, but
yeah, but it's true, because it also comes down to their personality. Like I was saying before, even though I have everything that they're looking for, maybe they'll just they jived with someone better, or they vibed with someone better. Sometimes that happens. Does it happen often? No, but it happens. And to that we say best of luck.
Yeah, and I love that, Ben, because we were just talking, and this is from my favorite book, and my mentor Bob Berg from The Go-Giver. Yep. So it's this character. His name is Joe, and he ends up talking to one of his mentors, who becomes this connector for him. What happens is he had to do something as his homework to give something of value. So what he did is then there was this client that he couldn't help, and he was going to lose the client. So he said, you know what, let me give you this number, and maybe he could help you. So he went in his Rolodex. For those of you who don't know what a Rolodex is, it's this way of indexing all of your contacts.
Kids don't know.
So he goes through the Rolodex, and he takes out a card of one of his competitors, and he gives him his competitor's number. And he goes, I can't believe I'm doing this, but here's the number.
Yeah.
And what happens towards the end, it comes back. He had no expectation of getting anything back from his competitor. He just knew he was a good person for this client. And it comes down to collaboration. That's the point. It comes down to collaboration. Even if I cannot serve this client because maybe I don't have the resources, or maybe I just don't have the time to do it, or the energy for this type of client. This person works well with that. So why don't you go to this person? Now you've collaborated with people within your industry to help them, and it's going to come back to you either through them or the universe is going to bring it to you somehow.
Yeah.
And you just reminded me of that situation.
I had a situation quite similar to that. Not that I couldn't help someone, but there's a gentleman at a big bank who I've sent people to. Either, we couldn't do the loan product or they wanted some privacy, whatever the case was. And I sent him a few people, and then he ended up sending me a few people. And over a few years, we developed a relationship. And he's become a very, very large producer at this bank that he works for. And we've become good friends over time. And what eventually happened is that last year he bought three properties, and I did all the loans for him.
That's
right. And he is a loan officer himself, right? So, and it's common in the mortgage business. Like when I go to networking events, and people that know me in the business see me, they avoid me. Yeah. Loan officers avoid me. So, yeah. And my point is there's plenty of business for all of us, but more importantly, there are opportunities for us to collaborate together. Right? So, because that gentleman I'm talking about, he's not the only one that in our market that I have sent loans to.
Yeah.
Right? And there are other people, like again at these smaller banks, that they'll send me referrals, deals they know that they're not competitive in. So I won't say the guy's name, but this is a different guy. Who's like, Ben, just this product was like a conventional arm adjustable rate. He's like, Ben, like this product isn't for me. This is a, A+ by 800 credit score, great down payment, DTI. And it's like, I know you have the best pricing. Just, take over.
Yeah.
Take over. I'm like 0.5% higher, man. Like just take it. That is and I send them stuff too. Things that I don't do, or, to be fair, I'm pretty much competitive everywhere, but that's how Madison's designed. But again, the stuff that we don't do, I send to him when I can, because it's fair. So other loan officers in the business should not be scared of one another, because you can obviously trade business. You can also learn from each other. And you never know, you may do business together one day. Yeah. Right. So, I mean, these guys that I know, like we've, had discussions about doing some major things together. So things could happen. Don't be scared.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, this is such great content because it's so important to know we're going into this world of collaboration versus a decade ago. You can see, and this is called gulab jamun. I'm sorry, I'm throwing myself out here, but this is really good.
It's delicious.
This is one of my favorite sweets. And my eye just caught it, so I am gonna take some of that too in a minute. So you could take that too.
Eat it. I will.
But yeah,
I ate the other one. There were 4 originally.
So we're going into almost over a decade ago, when the crash happened. That's the world that we had lived in. Yeah. Was a competitive industry, a competitive world, and what happened? We all saw what happened. Yeah. So now we're going into this world of collaboration, and if you're still in that mindset of I'm a competitor and this is my competitor, I don't want anything to do with it or them, then you're going to be falling behind.
Yeah. And there's too many people in the business. It's not even just that. Think about like what that narrow mindset does to you. It's a limiting mindset, right? And it does this to you, right? Like we need to be here in order to grow, if that's what we want. And I believe that most of us who are in this business, it has an entrepreneurial energy to it. You have to have that type of mindset, otherwise again you're not going to get very far.
It will take you so far, and you have that mindset of abundance.
And I've seen it exactly. A major buzzword for a good reason over the past few years, the abundance mindset. And it's true. And I thought it was like mumbo jumbo in the beginning until I fell into it, and it did wonders. It's like even now in a contracting mortgage market with half or even a quarter of the volume that was available last year, we're still doing fantastic, and there's still tons of business out there. There's tons of it. Yeah. So it doesn't mean just because, things aren't as good in terms of the numbers that you can't continue to grow. Yeah. Right? You can. It's just, how do you attack it? Is it harder? I'm not saying that it's easy, right? But it can still be done.
It absolutely can, and there's room for everyone in the industry. Like you said earlier, Ben,
If you're good.
if you're if you're good, and there's always someone for someone.
Yep.
You know, personalities match, energy matches, and it's like, okay, this is the right person who can do the job for me. This is the right person who can assist me and get this done with, serve me in the way that I want to be served.
Yep.
And I think that's where it comes down to. It's like when you think as an entrepreneur, who's my ideal client, you'll start finding clients that match your energy because they're looking for who's my ideal mortgage lender, who's my ideal real estate agent, what can they do for me? And so that's like...
It's a good exercise. I'm sure you've done it, is to literally, you must have done it, write down like your ideal client. It's an exercise I did 7-8 years ago.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, it changes, depends what mood I'm in, but you know, we want people that are like us, right? That can communicate, and you know, don't get me wrong, you will come across people that can be deceptive and you know, lie, you know, and try and commit fraud. You know, we've seen that before, and you know, we shut that down. But I also think I believe in the law of attraction to some degree. I don't think that it's this magical thing. Right, but I simply think that you attract what you are and what you do, and you just connect. So if you're gonna act like a person with low integrity and you know little to no ethics and do illegal stuff, then those are the type of clients that you're gonna end up working with, and other people in the business that you're gonna end up working with. Yeah. And you can even I shouldn't really talk about this, but I'm going to anyway. In our business, there's a lot of illegal stuff going on, a lot of kickbacks going on, right? So even like lenders offering to give realtors money for deals, and I've like had meetings with realtors who are like, you know, my lender gives me a kickback, and I have convinced them, not only because it's illegal, right, but because it's not efficient, it's not ethical, and like no integrity, nothing, but it's like it will make you a better business person if you stop conducting yourself that way. You may miss the money temporarily, right, but I promise you will make 3 to 4 times as much long term. And I would say, like, I've converted them. I converted them to being a criminal.
You converted them to, getting out of trouble that they don't necessarily need to, you know, losing their license. And that in itself is like, wow, you would do that. And not only are you going to do this, and you could end up losing your license or you could go to jail, but at the end of the day, it's not scalable either.
It's not scalable.
So you can't.
It's not scalable. Yeah, even I've actually said this at this table before, and I'm going to say it again now. Kickbacks are for losers. If you take a kickback, again, it's not just about the integrity or the fact that it's illegal. Like, you are literally the lowest of the low, and you're basically saying, I'm not good enough at my job, that I need to get a little extra, and that little extra has to come from you in another form in order for me to really get what I want, because I can't show that value. It's a reflection of yourself. So
you're waking up in the morning knowing, oh God, when am I going to do this, and how am I going to get that?
They're the same people that struggle to pay their bills and always will, right? I get that people throughout their lives, you know, hit financial troubles, but these people in particular always struggle. Always, because it's a mindset thing.
Yeah. And what you focus on is what you get.
Yep.
So if you're focusing on that, I can't do this and I need that extra whatever, however much I'm going to get from this mortgage lender or this other person, then, I mean, that's what you're going to get. Then.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And I'm happy that you're able to convert them into getting out of trouble.
Yeah, so the way it happened, it's happened with several, but there was one about 7-8 months ago that I remember in particular. And the person, I'll just leave it at that, the person was like, yeah, my lender is currently, giving me X amount and also paying for all the marketing. But the problem is that like they're not giving me the best service, and then the clients are also not so happy with the service on top of us.
That's what you're gonna get.
Precisely. So it's like to think that you can have it all. So that person made a conscious decision to take care of themselves before they take care of their clients. And to this day, that person hasn't really scaled. If anything, they've shrunk more than the average person has in this market.
Wow.
Yeah, because I work with that person for a while, right? And then, they miss the money, right? They miss the money and they're like, Ben, we tried it, but I have bills to pay. I have this, I have that. It's like, okay, like this is a long-term commitment. If you have to go back to that, you have to go back to it. But, temporary conversion, yeah, happens.
Wow. So yeah, we could talk for days on things that happen in this industry, but
yes.
and stories tell a message. They give you a message, and just like we just spoke about, it's not scalable. And the purpose of a business is, how is it going to serve the owner? And if you can't have enough faith in yourself or your own business that you need to take money from someone else, because you can't, you obviously you know it, because you have this belief and this faith that I can't close it, so I'm going to need this. It's sad.
Yeah.
It's a sad story.
It is. It's unfortunate. Unfortunately, it's fairly common in our business. I don't know what percentage of people conduct themselves that way, but I mean, again, I've been doing this for a while, so I've seen it. But it's life. It's life. You move on.
Well, thank you for sharing that.
Sure.
That I'm sure that could help somebody, whoever's listening to this.
Well, yeah, because it's tempting, right? I understand the temptation to get paid, right? I completely get that, but it's the way that I conduct myself, and I'm not saying like I'm perfect or this angel loan officer. I make mistakes. There are times where I haven't made the best decisions. I've never done anything like that, but you have to think of everything that you do, or at least I do, and this is what I tell my team, like, think about everything that you do from the consumer's perspective. And I'm not just referring to what we just discussed. I'm referring to simple things like, if the consumer needs documentation and, you tell them verbally, how are they going to remember these 7 to 8 documents that they see once a year and they have no idea where they are? Text them a checklist. Email it to them as well. And do you know who else needs to be informed? The person that referred us that person. Yes. So why don't we copy them on that text so this way they know? So the easier you make everything, it also makes it more efficient. Everyone gets better service, and I wouldn't say everybody wins, but pretty close. Because again, because even if you do all these right things can still go wrong. But it makes life so much easier.
Well, you can't make everyone happy, but at least you can try.
Yeah.
And so that I love. We're gonna close at this, Ben, because it's just so important. Now, I always ask my special guests to close out. Before I do ask you to close out, I do want to give this opportunity for anyone who's listening and watching, and if you are looking to purchase a house and you need something like the tips and the checklist, you can always email me, DM me on Instagram, or if you're watching this on YouTube,
come knock on your door.
Yeah, you can just message me or Ben. I will put the information on how to contact Ben as well, and he'll send you out a checklist.
Sure.
I just volunteered, Ben.
Yeah, that's what we do.
Yeah. Yes, the checklist of purchasing a home and what you need for a mortgage is important. And if that's something that you need, please definitely reach out. You'll have all the information at the bottom of the comments or the YouTube description.
It's funny, Tyler and I just shot a video on that this morning.
Yeah?
Of a document checklist. I think it was probably, 7 seconds long? We just went, boom! This. We made a list. Boom. So we'll send you a video, too, if you like.
Yes, you'll get a video as well. And thank you so much for your time, Ben.
Thank you for having me.
I appreciate
my
pleasure.
Of course. This is fun. I love doing this stuff.
Me too. This is fun.
Yeah.
I'm going to do some more outside now before it gets too cold.
Or we should do it in the snow.
That's fun.
It would look
Yeah.
cool. It would
It
look
will
cool,
look
and it
cool,
would be
but
cool for
will be
about 30
cool.
seconds. So you want my closing thoughts, eh?
Yes.
What type of thoughts are you looking for? Just general advice, or?
Whatever you want. It's your clothes.
I could go on.
What-
I could do a soliloquy.
Okay.
I'll talk about something that, I kind of alluded to before. There are a lot of things in this business that are very important, and we're talking about like sales skills and mirroring and like what is it? Like killing anxiety of your consumers. But the main thing, like, I don't see myself as a very, very good salesperson. I'm not that personable and charming and charismatic, but despite
You
what
are.
despite what the accent does, what it really, well, thank you, but what it really comes down to is that I think that I'm a very, very good listener and communicator. I'm good at like listening to what someone's issues are, and then having decent comprehension skills, and then communicating on how we can solve those things. And I just think if people focused on that in particular versus trying to like spit out a particular message, you will have infinitely more success. And I'm not just talking about like monetary success. I'm just talking about like the efficiency in your business, your day to day, and your relationships with your referral partners and your consumers. It will make your life so much easier.
And that is exactly what makes you a great salesperson.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah.
Because sales means to give. And that's what you do. You give to your clients.
I love that. Sales means to give. It's awesome.
So,
Very cool.
and that's Ben, guys. Ben Lavender,
Thank you for having me.
New York's favorite British
Mortgage broker.
mortgage broker.
You got it.
I got it.
80% of it. That's good.